Welcome back to the What's Cooking program, the nation's food, wine, restaurant, entertainment show, and sports show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Horn along with Paul Stern. We got the great Joe Buck with us.
Mike, unfortunately, I hate to say this, I know everybody's going to be very disappointed, but unfortunately, due to, I guess, some time restrictions and obligations,
Joe left us. He hated my interview.
No, we unfortunately did have to let Mr. Buck go, but we did get, and I hope it's okay to say this, we did get a private number where we can contact Mr. Buck.
That's good.
Perhaps so in the future we can
want to have him back on the air because let me just say one more thing about this guy. People sometimes say, well, I'd like to be a play-by-play announcer. And back in the days of, the beginnings of baseball when we were kids, and you had like Mel Allen for the Yankees and Vin Scully and Jack Buck for the Cardinals. And, I mean, you had like the teams and the announcers were, just there. They were together. They were a partnership. Out of the modern-day era, doing what Joe Buck does now, you've got to have the knowledge. You got to know about baseball, but you got to also have to be like a Johnny Carson because you're working with Tim McCarver and Oral Hershiser or whoever it might be that's in the broadcast booth with you. So even though they've worked well together for many years, you still got to be Johnny Carson doing play-by-play. So you got to have the knowledge and know what's going on and be the announcer. But you got to bring in your support staff to give stories and stuff. And it becomes, to me, I used to be only a guy that would watch my local team, the Dodgers, the Angels. Now I will watch any game anywhere if the announcing is great. I love to hear facts and figures and hear about the games and get into the players' heads. And that's, I think, what Joe Buck and his team brings to it. So I really would like to have him back on the air again. He's a guy. Did he have a book or anything that we were supposed to talk about?
I really don't know exactly what it was that
get to it.
Joe Buck was
buy
here.
whatever he's selling, ladies and
No,
gentlemen.
I think
Joe Buck's name on it. Go buy it.
I think he was just speaking on behalf of the game. If you could imagine that somebody is just doing something as simple as that, speaking on behalf of baseball.
Give me that private. Now we're going to get him back on because we're going to talk about trades. That's what he was going to talk about today. I want to. There's, the trade deadline is coming up at the end of this month for you baseball fans out there. They can do these trades, and the only big trade I've heard about so far is Dan Herron going away from Arizona to the Angels, and the Angels sending Joe Saunders, I think, over to the Diamondbacks. And that's the only one that I've heard, but there may be some others coming down the pike, and I'm sure if anybody knows, Joe Buck has his ear and his eye on the ball.
And of course, just recently, I believe...
Take your ear off the ball, you can hear better, Joe.
Didn't Cooperstown kind of have its big inductee ceremony
I
just
don't
recently?
believe so. Did they?
I believe Andre Dawson, was the Hawk, Andre Dawson.
Did they have their big inductee ceremony?
I believe so, in Cooperstown, I believe.
I was watching, I was at this Beachcomber restaurant in Malibu and was waiting for Larry Minetti last night, not to throw big names around. Larry Minetti, one of the superstars of television, Rick
and
from Magnum PI.
And quite an accomplished eater.
And a good eater, and he actually was there before me having a cocktail at the bar, and they had this Major League Baseball channel on. Have you watched MLB, the Major League Baseball channel? They got one for basketball. They got one for football. They got one for hockey. And they're carrying these games. I don't know who the announcers are, but they were showing games. And these poor St. Louis Cardinals, not to take it to Joe Buck because he did announce for them, they're in a little bit of a funk right now. They actually lost to the Mets, who were also in a funk. And the Mets looked like they were like powerhouses last night. I think it was like 8-2 or something they won.
That's kind of interesting.
Thanks. What else do you want me to talk about?
No, kind of.
Thanks, Paul.
Also, I don't know if this was equally interesting.
I got something uninteresting.
No, but for the first time.
You want to know how many olives Larry Minetti had in his martini? He likes them dirty, by the way. Yes, I'm sorry.
Good.
Hello?
No, I was just mentioning
apparently
that
our band is warming up on the side.
That was actually live from the Beachcomber where Larry Minetti apparently still enjoyed the olives.
Up until Joe Buck just left us and said, enough of this stuff. I'm leaving the show.
No, I don't know if this was interesting at all, but actually it's not interesting at all, so let's not even get into it. But the other night on television, I happened to be watching, for the first time in quite some time, professional wrestling.
Oh, now that's still big. You got your W. I was thinking about it the other day. It used to be the WWF, and I couldn't remember WCW. Remember, it was the World Wrestling Federation and World Championship Wrestling.
That was the Ted Turner organization.
That's right. And then Vince McMahon bought out the Ted Turner group.
He did do that.
And it became WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. And apparently the wrestlers have changed, but there's some still interesting people there.
Yeah, they were doing something kind of interesting. Kind of what kind of made me think about it was when we were talking about baseball. They were doing, I guess, the equivalent, and I've never seen this before in professional wrestling, but they were doing like a rookie draft, where they were actually having like these rookie wrestlers demonstrate some of their abilities, not only when it came to physical attributes, but also in verbal skills.
What? So they were showing how they trained to get into the WWE?
Yeah, these were. I guess no, I guess these were already somewhat already primed and ready to go wrestlers, but they had yet to achieve contracts.
What you gonna do when these 1-inch pythons wrap around you?
Well, that's kind of
Hulkamaniacs.
well, that's kind of what they did. They had
I'm
like
still building them up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
They're 1-inch
yeah, they had like
on
10,
their way up to 25.
They were like it was like the wrestling tryouts. And for whatever reason, I found it quite captivating.
What you gonna do when I put these toothpicks around you, Hulkamaniacs?
That's a pretty good
How
verbal
about
skill.
that the Randy Macho Man Savage? Is he still on the circuit?
I don't think so.
Yo.
No, I don't
When
think
they
so.
went- oh no, who was the guy that did Yo? Was Ric Flair, right? Yo. I used to watch interviews with this guy, and I'm wondering what's wrong with him. All of a sudden, he'd Yo, and he'd be making these noises in there. And I go like, what is wrong with this man? Does he have some kind of a nervous tick? Yo.
I think I was watching Spike. Is it Spike TV that they're on now?
Is
They've-
Spike TV?
Wrestling has traveled just about every cable channel there is.
In My TV, I believe they're also on the
Are they
Fox,
really?
the My TV. They
Remember
have
when it used to be the
Friday Night Raw?
It used to be, remember, the USA Network. That was like one of the original.
They had
networks
it,
that
and their
carried
ratings
wrestling.
went through the roof when they had wrestling on
Big
there. Remember
time.
that?
Big
And
time.
now they USA Network has all the reruns from NBC. No, they actually have original series, but they're owned by Universal, I believe. Actually, NBC is so bad they're getting reruns.
Will you stop it,
they
Mike?
get Monk. Monk
NBC
actually
is our-
airs on NBC
No,
now.
that's
They
one
say,
of my
"The
favorite
cable channel's doing better than us at NBC. Let's give them one of our shows." And so they give them reruns of Monk.
Fact, did anybody see? I guess it's not even the place to bring it up on, but the poor treatment that MSNBC's Luke Russert, the son of the late Tim Russert from Meet the Press, received from Congressman Charlie Rangel.
What happened?
He merely asked a question to Charlie Rangel about this
He
investigation.
wrangled with Wrangle?
And Rangel made some kind of like sarcastic comment
These
about.
congressmen are getting testy because they're getting asked a lot of questions that they can't answer
But
because they simply don't know what they're doing.
the reference to MSNBC when it was a good network,
That's
and he
always-
called it, and Rangel called
always
it a
makes you feel
channel,
good.
which it's not a channel.
We don't have to worry for that because we've
That-
always, here at CRN, we've always gotten that comment. So it's
Absolutely.
like, we never actually were a good network.
Hey,
But
Charlie
once again,
Rangel, what do you think about CRN?
what you gonna do when we get to be a good network around you, Hulkamaniacs?
For over 35 years, Lucas and Llewellyn's estate-grown, sustainable vineyard